Hey, welcome to this video. This is Rahul and myself, Chaz. I am going to jump in here and dive through 3 topics for public speaking. And Rahul and I are just going to riff back and forth and just going back and forth with each other for 3 minutes on these 3 topics to really help you best improve your public speaking and communication skills. Now, as we go through this, we're gonna keep a timer, keep ourselves concise, and then we're gonna jump through that. So all in all, about 9 minutes of us going back and forth. So enjoy, and we're gonna now go ahead and jump in. So Rahul, thanks for being here as well. And for this one, our first topic that we're gonna be covering is public speaking is everywhere. Public speaking is everywhere. So I'm gonna start the timer here. Rahul, I will kick it to you to explain how and why public speaking is everywhere. Take it away.
Sure. Thanks, Chaz. So this is an idea that I realized early in my career because I was always trying to avoid public speaking. And I thought at first early in my career that public speaking was about presentations, speaking up to a group, until I realized it's happening all the time. It was happening that moment when you're sitting down and you're speaking to a new team and they ask you, to introduce yourself. And we all know that moment when you're sitting there waiting for everyone to go, and then everyone looks at you and you get really nervous about it. So that's public speaking. Or when someone is in a meeting and they disagree with you and then you have to speak up and say something, that's public speaking. Of course, there's formal presentations, formal interviews, things like that as well, that are all situations where you're going to have to be in front of a group and put yourself out there. So a lot of our clients that are coming into our classes are realizing that it's inevitable, that they have to work on it, and why we're always encouraging them to start working on their public speaking early, start working on it consistently, because they're just never going to be able to escape it at this point.
Absolutely. And even with public speaking being everywhere, it only gets more in people's lives as they go up in their career as well. So I love what you're saying there, Rahul, how public speaking is absolutely everywhere. And if most people that do come to us, they at some point would like to be moving up in their careers. So moving away from that technical aspect of being in the details, being the hands-on coder, being the designer, whatever it is, into now leading a team, communicating with higher ups, and also with clients that are at a higher level. So communicating with other executives, all of that has those elements of public speaking in it. Whether you are facilitating a group of 3 people and one is an executive and one is a client CEO, well, your speaking better be on point in that meeting. So the more you go up in your career, same thing, public speaking is absolutely everywhere for that.
That's right.
We got about 45 more seconds here, Rahul. So what are your other thoughts on public speaking being everywhere? How has this been impactful to you? And how have you seen yourself grow with it?
I think the biggest thing for me is that it forced me to start working on it and not avoid it. I knew that whatever career I was going to go into, I'd have to communicate about my work. And that's public speaking too, right there. Your manager or someone on the team asks you, what have you been working on? That's public speaking. Your ability to communicate clearly that you're doing something valuable, that you can communicate in a way that's concise, that they're going to be able to understand. So that's public speaking too, and it's just something that I knew would be showing up in every corner of my life.
Absolutely. Well, we are out of time for that, and thanks, Rahul, for diving in there. So we're going to jump on to the next section here. This is going to be handling disagreement, and I will kick us off for this one, starting the timer and beginning. So with handling disagreement, this is important because in multiple situations, no matter what your career level is, whether you're facilitating a meeting, whether you are part of a meeting, or even in your social life, right? You're gonna have to handle disagreement. Now, one of the things that is the first part of disagreement is the feeling of that inner tension. I'm sure you can relate to that. It's that inner tension where you say something and someone else says, no, hold on, or I don't totally agree with that, that little bit of tension starts building up. Now it's really important to take that tension and get control of it and to not let it control you, because if it can start to control you, then your mind may start racing, or your body language, you may start collapsing in on yourself and not being as sure as you were. So just to be aware of disagreement in the room, that's okay. Notice that tension comes up in yourself, acknowledge it, and then still see why they've disagreed. And then get their opinion on it and talk a little bit more about why they're disagreeing, and sit with that tension and that little bit of uncomfortable feeling. So what are your thoughts on that, Rahul?
It's a feeling that you have to get used to. It's going to happen, and it's going to happen in ways that are not so soft, like the ways that you described, Chaz, are a little bit gentler. When someone goes, oh, I don't 100% disagree with that, that's a little nicer, versus someone goes, that's wrong. Or, no, that's, I don't know if people say this now, but in certain contexts, maybe the culture, someone might say like, that's stupid, or I don't think that's a good idea, right? So it's not going to come out so soft sometimes, depending on if you have someone who's a little bit more of a, maybe an abrasive personality, or someone a little bit more aggressive. So you've got to get used to it and not take it personally. We go through this in the Women in Leadership Bootcamp. How do you deal with personal attacks? We also talk about it in Impromptu. How do you deal with softening when you get disagreed with, and handling it with poise and not letting it control you, as you said.
Yeah, exactly. And that's such a good point too, because it may be a little more aggressive in nature with those disagreements. And one big element there is it's important to see, are they saying no and just being no, that idea is really stupid? Because in their mind, that's what they think is stupid, and they don't realize that that's rude. Or are they saying something like that, like, no, that idea is really stupid, to be offensive? Because there's a big difference there. If there's just saying, no, that idea is stupid, that's a little less harmful, and you can handle that a little bit more softly, right? Now, if they do just say, no, that idea is stupid, and they're being aggressive or offensive to you, you need to then face that more head on. All right, well, that is our timer for that one. So yes, for that part, just make sure you handle those face on and sit with that tension. All right, the next section we're gonna jump into is introducing yourself to a group, or introducing yourself in an interview. The question of, hey, Rahul, welcome to our group. Go ahead and just say a few things about you. Or, hey, Rahul, thanks for coming to the interview. Please go ahead and tell me a little about yourself. They're all in all, they're a very similar question, so we want to take them both on in this topic. So starting the timer here, 3 minutes. Rahul, I will kick it off to you to start with.
Yeah, so this question is another inevitable one. It's part of the theme today. And when you get asked, tell me about yourself in an interview, the last thing that you want to do is to go through your resume. That's what most people do. They start listing off, I did this for 2 years and I did this, and they start just literally listing off bullet by bullet all the accomplishments that they did. And you really don't want to do that, because what they're really looking for is a story. When they ask you for tell me about yourself, a story that fits you into the position, so that when you answer that question, and by the way, we recommend about 90 seconds or so to answer the question, that's it, that they don't even need to ask, why are you a good fit for the role, or why are you interested in this position? It's to be very clear why you're interested in this position, and it should sound like a story about yourself, right? So of course you're going to be talking about your different positions, but in more of a way of a narrative of what you've learned from there, what you've learned about yourself, what you've learned about the field, the industry. So that's one area. The other area is when you have to introduce yourself to a group and they go, oh yeah, could you introduce yourself to this team? Same thing. It might just be a shorter version. You don't want to go maybe for 90 seconds, but maybe a minute or something like that, where you're able to talk about what got you into this field, what got you excited about this company, why you're still working there. And that is going to, again, same thing. You don't want to go into a resume. You also don't want to just say, oh, my name is Rahul and I'm a product manager at Google on the Google Maps team. And that's it. Sometimes people do that and it's a little bit curt, and it doesn't really give anyone a sense and visibility of who you are. So there's frameworks that we teach in the storytelling bootcamp where we go into how do you tell that arc and narrative the whole time.
I love it. And that is so imperative that they do keep it concise, and that they do tell a story and draw people in with that. And one thing I always like to bring in with introducing yourself to the interviewer, introducing yourself to the group, it's a lot about opening up a little bit, right? So just opening up that little bit and sharing something about yourself. So many times the meeting will come to you and say, okay, Chaz, what do you think? And it's, I'm here for this meeting, and, here's my stereotypical answer, and everyone can feel it. And it's just, me looking to pass the ball on to the next person. But take a second there and really open up and say, I'm really glad to be here, a part of this meeting. And for me, I really struggle with XYZ. So I'm hoping to learn a lot out of this team training. So thank you, Joe, for putting this team training together for us. Something like that. What are your struggles? Open up a little bit. What are you looking to get out of the meeting? That really adds value to the host, and also opens up a little bit more about yourself so that you can connect better with everyone else in there. So same thing for the interview as well, finding that concise way to open up. Well, that is our time for the third topic. So thank you guys for sticking around here till the end. And be sure to like this video, comment below what your thoughts were on these topics, which one speaks to you most, which one really has you thinking and has you wanting to develop most. So comment below, we'll get back to you. And if you're not already subscribed, definitely hit that subscribe button as we release content on improving your public speaking and communication, now more so in the virtual world, but also everywhere. Bye guys.